Okay. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to do these cards out of order today just so we have them in a different type of form so that we're not just memorizing what they are in order. I'm going to do a shuffle, 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 and then I'm going to pull from behind my back. Okay, here we go. The first vocabulary word that I'm picking out today, ooh, and it's a multiple meaning word. Fantastic! It's the word clipped. And it says on the front of the card, the lost dog had a name tag clipped to her collar and helped us find her owner. This is number 7 on page 71. What does the word clipped mean when it comes to our story dogs? Morning, Lonnie. What does the word clipped mean when it comes to our story dogs? Levi?
It means turn a collar or clip a leash to the collar.
What does that mean if you clip a leash to a collar? That's what I'm asking. What does that mean?
It's like you for the clip you use the clip and then put on a spot where the collar has.
Right. You hook it on using the clip. Okay? So when you clip something to the collar or you clip the leash to the collar, you hooked it on using the clip. What is the other meaning for the word clip, though? If we're talking about it being a multiple meaning word, clip can mean that we hooked it on to something using a clip. But clipped can also mean what, Jamie? Yeah, cutting your what? Yeah, getting your hair cut or clipped, right? Clipped can be also getting something cut, like your hair. Okay. Let's try the word mammals. That's number 2 vocabulary word, mammals, found on page 70 in our book. There's 3 things to remember about the vocabulary word mammals. Jake, what's one of those 3 things? There's 3 things to remember about the word mammals. What's one of them? Mammals have what? Warm blood is one of them. Logan, what's another one?
That you have a backbone.
A backbone. Yanessa, do you remember the 3rd one? They have warm blood, they have a backbone, and what else?
They have fur.
Fur or hair. Very good. Mammals have warm blood, backbones, or fur and hair. All right. Our next vocabulary word is going to be canned. This man is buying canned dog food. You're going to find it on page 71, number 5. What does it mean if something is canned, Derek? It's in a can, right? We put it in a can. Why do we put it in a can? Do you remember? Yeah, we want to keep it fresh. Very good. It's in a can to keep it fresh. Like putting fruits and vegetables or dog food, pet food. Or sometimes people food goes in cans. Like Spam in a can. I grew up eating Spam in a can. Okay. Choose is our next vocabulary word, number 6 in your book, page 71. If you choose something, like your lunch in the cafeteria or your breakfast, if you're chewing, what are you doing? Lonnie, do you want to give chew a try?
Yep.
Go ahead, buddy.
That means you're grinding stuff and trying to munch it all up.
Yeah, what are you using when you're grinding and crushing it?
You're using your teeth to chew your stuff.
Fantastic. Nice job. Yep. Using your teeth to crush or grind the food that's in your mouth so that you can make it small enough to swallow it. Awesome sauce. All right, here we have, do you have a question, Tim?
But if you don't, if you don't use your teeth and then you just swallow it, sometimes you can choke. So
Yeah.
make sure you actually just chew it.
Exactly. That's why we need to use our teeth to chew and crush it and grind it down so we can swallow it. Excellent. Stayed is our next vocabulary word, number 4, page 71 in your book. If you stayed at someone's house or if someone stayed with you, Gwen, what does that mean?
That means like you're visiting them for
them or you're living with them for a little while, or sometimes even a long while. Sometimes you stayed at someone's house for a long while. Yes, Tim?
Wait, so you're saying stay?
Yep.
If somebody's leaving their pet there and then they come back.
They could. You could leave your pet at somebody's house. Your pet could stay, visit somebody else for a little while, and then you would come back and pick them up, like a doggy daycare or something. Coat is our next vocabulary word, number 8 in our book, page 71. When we're talking about an animal's coat, Jamie, what are we talking about?
You have a lot of fur.
Yeah, the fur on the animal or the hair on the animal. When we're talking about a people coat, though, because remember, coat is a multiple meaning word. When we're talking about a people coat, what are we talking about? Tim, do you want to give that one a try?
Like your coat that you have on.
Yeah, it's a piece of what? What do we put on our body? We put,
It's a coat and it has fur on it.
it could, it might have fur on it. What do we call the things we put over top of our body so that we don't walk outside and get embarrassed? Angelina,
Some
we're all wearing these things right now.
clothes.
Clothes, yeah. Coat is a piece of clothing, okay? Coat is a type of clothing that humans wear because we don't have fur or hair covering our bodies. Well, we might have hair on our bodies, but not enough to keep us warm. Litter is our next vocabulary word. It's number 3 in your book, page 71. If there is a litter of babies, what does that mean, Alina?
It means like mommies was they were born all like all at the same
What was born all at the same time?
a litter.
Which is what? A litter is what? What do you see in the picture?
Puppy.
Puppies. Puppies are what?
Litter.
They are born in a litter, but what is a litter? Are puppies grown-ups? No, they're what?
Baby.
Yeah, so a litter is a bunch of babies
Born all at the
to one mom all at the same time. Very good. A litter is a bunch of babies born to one mom all at the same time. And our last vocabulary word, number 1, it's my favorite one, hairy. This dog is hairy. Kaden, I bet you can look at that picture and tell me what hairy means. If the dog is hairy, what does that mean?
It has a lot of hair.
Yeah, he has a lot of hair, right? Awesome sauce. Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to be familiar with those words because we are going to see them in our story, Helping Paws. Now, I would like you to turn in your book to page, let me see, I have it written down.
75?
Oops.
75? Right at
94 and 95. We're going to go to 94 and 95 in our book. That's where the story Helping Paws starts. So zooming forward a little bit here.
94 and 95. I got it.
Let me see where I am on my page numbers. They're just spinning, spinning, spinning here.
Oh, okay. I just put that.
Oh, I almost got there. I bet you if I do it this way, it goes a lot faster.
I just cracked one on.
Here we go. Looks something like this, 94 and 95. Now, our story Helping Paws is also an informational text, just like our story Dogs. So what does that mean? What kind of story is that? If it's an informational text, bless you, what kind of story is it? Anybody want to give me a guess? Gwen, what can you tell me about an informational text?
It gives real information about the real thing that you talk about. In
Yeah.
this case, like dogs, like how dogs can help people.
Right. Well, in this case, we guess that it's probably like that. But yeah, it's a story that gives us real information. Come on, Jake, 94 and 95. Let's go. Find the pages, buddy. So it's a story that gives us real information or facts about something. What else can it tell us, Zayden? What do you remember?
Real pictures.
Yeah, usually real photographs or real pictures. And why? Why does the author want to show us photographs or pictures instead of having drawings, Levi?
Because it's a informational text.
Right, but why does the author want us to see real photographs instead of drawings? Because an author could draw pictures for an informational text too. An illustrator could just draw pictures. But why does the author want to show us photographs of the things instead?
Because they want to show you the real information.
They want us to see the real thing. Right. Tim, do you have something to add?
It's like sometimes they can print that stuff.
Yes.
Make it look real.
Yes. But in this case, they actually are photographs. Like somebody would have taken a camera and taken photographs and then put it into the story instead of just having drawings. Because like Levi said, they want you to see the real thing. Some of these things you might see are easy for you to see. You may see a person with a wheelchair and a service dog in real life. But some things that you see in these informational texts are things you are never going to see. Like yesterday I talked about the inside of a volcano. I don't think any of us are ever going to see the inside of a volcano.
No.
I hope not. Or if it is, I hope it's a really cold and dead one, right? Or the bottom of the ocean, the deepest part of the ocean. We're probably never going to see that in real life either, okay? Or pictures of Mars. Right now, none of us are going to go to Mars to see what it looks like in real life. But you can see those things in photographs. That needs to stop. Keep it over your face. Okay. So Helping Paws is also an informational text that tells us story or information in the story. Now, there's something else in this story that is also another kind of text feature. In our dog story, we have headings at the top of the page, just like we do in this story. But also in this story, Helping Paws, we have something called captions. Now, I've talked about captions in Seesaw, and it's a little bit different than how the captions are here. Captions in our informational stories are little groups of sentences or words that tell more about each picture or each photograph. So you're going to notice on page 95 that there's like a little box next to the picture. The words inside this little box next to the picture of the dog is going to give you more information about just that picture. So a lot of times in our informational texts, we'll have captions that give us just a little bit more information so that we can see or understand that picture even better than just by looking at it, okay? So I'm going to read through Helping Paws, and then we're going to compare how this story is like our story Dogs, and we're going to contrast and talk about how the story is different than our story Dogs. Helping Paws. Most people think of dogs as pets. For many people, dogs are family helpers. Some dogs help people who have disabilities. They give care to people who need it. Here's our heading at the top of the next page. Hearing ear dogs. So remember, this heading is going to tell us what we're going to read about on this page. Hearing ear dogs help people who are deaf or who cannot hear well. These dogs listen for important sounds at home. An alarm clock and a doorbell are important sounds. When the dogs hear these sounds, they touch their owners with their noses. This gets their owners' attention. When hearing ear dogs are outside with their owners, they listen for sounds that could mean danger. They help keep their owners safe. Now, also, another kind of text feature in this story is they have like little boxes with just a little bit of information, kind of like a bonus information, okay? So I'm looking up at the top of page 95 where it says hearing ear dogs are helpers. So these are the two important things to remember about that. They listen for important sounds inside and outside, and they let their owners know if there is danger. So that's what we need to remember about hearing ear dogs. Now, the caption here at the bottom of page 95, talking about just this picture. It says, hearing ear dogs listen for the ring of a telephone or the sound of a smoke detector. Why would it be important for dogs to know those sounds? Why is it important for dogs to know those sounds? What do you think, Zayden?
Because something might be on fire and the people might not be able to hear it.
Right. There might be something on fire, so the smoke detector might be going beep, 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 and you may not smell it, or somebody may not be able to hear the smoke detector, but if the dog can hear it, how does the dog tell their owner that there's danger happening? What does the dog do? Rosemary, what does the dog do to tell the owner that there's danger?
She probably could probably get the owner and try to help her get out.
Might be able to help her get out. How does the dog let the owner know that there's danger in the first place, Jose?
It touches the owner's nose.
They touch the owner with their nose, okay? So the dog will run over to its owner and touch its nose to the owner to let them know that there's some kind of danger. And that way the owner knows when the dog is doing that, like pushing their nose against them, that there must be something that is happening, that the dog is trying to keep him safe or her safe. And if the telephone is ringing, somebody might not hear the telephone ringing. So the dog can do the same thing. That's not necessarily a danger sound when the telephone rings, but it's still an important sound. Or if the doorbell rings, that's still an important sound for somebody to be able to hear, right? So the dog can run over to his owner or her owner and push her nose against the owner to let the owner know that there's a sound. Yes, Tim?
You know, dogs hear sounds sometimes. They can actually bark on it.
Yes, they can bark, and a lot of dogs will bark, but these dogs are trained to hear things that their owners cannot hear. So the dog could bark, but the owner's not going to hear the dog bark. So that's why the dog has been trained to push their noses up against the owner so that they can tell the owner, hey, there's a sound going on that you need to pay attention to. Yes, Alina?
Like if you're deaf and you can't hear, the dog can like tell you.
Exactly. It's the dog kind of acting like a human and telling you, hey, this is what's going on. Pay attention right now. Yes, Gwen?
Sometimes they're called service dogs.
Well, yes, and we'll talk about that. Yep. Because I think they mentioned that a little bit in the book. All right, on the next page, 96 and 97. Let me turn my page here. Just 96, I guess. Okay. Now we're going to read about guide dogs. Our heading at the top of this page says guide dogs. Guide dogs help people who are blind or cannot see well. A guide dog learns sights, sounds, and smells of busy places. Guide dogs can go anywhere their owners need to go. They follow directions from their owners. So what we need to remember about guide dogs is up here, the top left or left-hand corner of the page. Guide dogs are helpers. They help their owners walk safely, and they follow directions to help their owners. Now, this is a very important note in the caption next to this picture. It's always important to know this. Make sure not to pet a guide dog when it is working. Now, this guide dog only has a special harness on, but a lot of times guide dogs will also have like a vest on to let you know that the dog is working and that it's a working dog. Why do you think it would be important to not pet a guide dog while it is working? Why do you think that's important? Rosemary, what do you think?
Because you might distract it and the owner might do something bad that it's not supposed to.
Right, you might distract the dog, right? Because a lot of dogs, when you pet them, if they're friendly dogs, they're going to wag their tail and then maybe they'll get all excited. But if the dog is working right then, it's not supposed to be getting all excited and wagging its tail and licking your hands and that kind of stuff. It has to pay attention to what's going on around it, right? So it's very important never to pet a guide dog when it's working. If you see somebody with a service dog or a guide dog, you can ask that person, may I pet your dog? You should always ask a person before you pet their dog anyways. You should never, ever, ever pet a dog that is not yours without asking first. And if the person says no, okay, then you don't pet the dog. If the person says yes, then it is okay to pet the dog. Yes, Gwen?
Or the dog could like get really nervous and like he could run away and the owner could like bump into something and then get hurt.
That could happen, but usually guide dogs are trained and are not going to do that kind of behavior. If a dog is going to run away and get nervous, then they probably aren't going to be a guide dog in the first place, okay? Okay, so now, let's talk about how this story, Helping Paws, is the same as our story, Dogs. Let's compare the two stories. When we compare, we talk about how they are the same. So what's something that is the same about Dogs and Helping Paws? What's one thing that's the same about these two stories? I'm going to pull a stick. Let's see here. Let's see if this person can tell us. What's something that's the same? Jake, what's something that's the same about these two stories? How is dogs like the story Helping Paws? Or how is Helping Paws like the story dogs? Jake, what do the two stories mainly talk about? Dogs. So how are the two stories the same? Yeah, they both talk about dogs, right? The main part of the story is both stories are talking about dogs. What's another way that these stories are the same? Jamie. Very good, Jamie. That was excellent. They are informational texts. Wow, Jamie, I'm glad you remembered that. That was fantastic. Levi, what's that mean for us if they're informational texts?
That means they get some information.
Okay, they give us information, which is another word for what?
I don't know the other one.
Oh, but you should, because I've used it a couple times. What kind of story is it? Is it a make-believe story?
Informational.
Right, it is informational, which means what? What am I going to find out in this story?
It gives information and
It does give information, but what's another word for information? Ooh, let's stay upright and listen now, Levi, okay? Because I've said this one a couple times. Jose, what does it mean?
It means
Who can tell me another word for informational? Zayden.
with real pictures.
It does have real pictures, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. Information is another word for what, Lonnie?
For thinking in your brain.
You will think in your brain. Information is another word for facts. When I'm finding information out, I'm finding out facts. So Levi, what's another word for information?
Facts.
Facts. Very good. Facts, which means it's true. Everything you read in this story, in an informational story, is true. It can be proven to be true. It's not make-believe in any way. Everything is true. So they both talk about dogs. They're both informational stories, which means they are full of facts. What else is the same about these two stories, dogs and Helping Paws? What else is the same, Derek? What do we see that's the same in those two pictures, or in those two books? Well, yeah, because it is a story. They're talking about dogs. It's informational stories. What do we see in those two stories? Like, what do you see right there on that page, on page 96? What is it that you see a dog in? Is it a drawing? What is it? It's a photograph. It's a photograph. So both stories use photographs because the author wants you to see the real thing. Yes, Zayden.
my hand is hurting.
Oh, okay. Is that what you're going to tell me the same thing? Okay. So, both stories are informational, tell you lots of facts. Both stories are all about dogs. Both stories have photographs about the dogs that they're talking about, or what the things they want you to see. There's a text feature that was the same in both stories. We find it at the top of the page. What do we see at the top of the pages as we're reading? That's a text feature. Zayden.
Little guys.
They are little guides. What do we call these words that are at the head of a page? What do we call these words that are at the head of a page, Lena?
Heading.
Headings. Very good. I knew if I used the word head, we'd remember it. These stories both have headings. It's really important for you to know this, Hayden. Even if you weren't here for the beginning of the story, it's very important that you learn this, okay? So it would be a good idea to keep your head up so that you're listening. Headings in both stories, because that way you know what you're reading about on each page. So headings are the same. Informational text, which means they're full of facts, real, true stories. Photographs instead of drawings. And both stories obviously are about dogs. Now that we've compared them and we talked about how they're the same, how can we contrast them or tell how they are different? How are the two stories different? What's something different about dogs or different about Helping Paws? Angelina? Go ahead, Derek.
That the story dogs It tells like what dogs are and how they can be good pets. And in the story Helping Pets, it teaches that pets can also not only be pets, but also can help humans.
Fantastic answer, Angelina. Exactly. That's the most important thing to remember about these two stories. The story Dogs is just basically talking about dogs and what you need to do to take care of a dog and how dogs can be fun pets and that kind of thing, what dogs need to stay happy and healthy. But the story Helping Paws is talking about dogs who are doing things other than just being a pet. How they can be working dogs. How they can do jobs too. So even though the two stories are talking about dogs, they're talking about dogs in two totally different ways. Okay? Yes, Lonnie.
Yeah. I didn't hear an ear dog before.
You've never seen a hearing ear dog before? No, we probably don't see them so much because they probably are maybe more inside type of dogs because they're listening for sounds inside the house. They might be outside too, but they were probably used more for listening for doorbells or telephones ringing or fires, smoke detectors going off or those kinds of things, right?
Or if it sounds like siren head.
I was just going to say, what are some things that maybe if a hearing ear dog was outside, what might be some outside things that a hearing ear dog could be listening for that would be important for its owner to know? Alina, can you give me an example?
Like a really loud truck that might hit the house. That's like looking in the backyard if there's like a really big hill.
Okay, so if there is a really big hill and there's a really big truck working on it, the big truck might come and hit the house, possibly. But I'm thinking about things that would most likely you could need to know about or hear about all the time. Zeta, can you give me an example?
Somebody getting hurt.
Like maybe somebody yelling for help? Okay, that's possible. What do you think, Tim?
I think like if the car goes up, then the dog will hear it and
So like a loud noise like an explosion or a bang or a boom? Possibly. What else might we hear outside, Jamie?
you gotta watch out for cars.
Well, yeah, just cars coming. Like if you're coming up to an intersection, listening for cars coming is important to know, okay? What else might we hear outside that let us know that there's something important going on that we need to pay attention to? We may not even realize that we hear this, but we hear this a lot, believe it or not, especially where we are right now, because these kinds of vehicles go down 74 a lot. Sometimes they come past the school a lot. There's usually lights flashing, and then we hear what at the same time? Jose? All right, I'm going to ask Logan. Logan, what do you hear?
We could hear a police car if there's.
What do we hear, though? What part of the police car do we hear?
We hear the siren.
Yeah, sirens. Police cars, fire trucks, ambulances. Any kind of emergency vehicle is going to have that siren that we hear, right? We hear it because we can hear normally with our ears. But somebody who might be deaf or hard of hearing might not be able to hear it very well. It's important for the dog to recognize those sounds to let their owner know, hey, something's going on here. You know, there's a sound. Time to pay attention. Because when we hear those sounds, that's the ambulance or the fire truck or the police car letting us know, hey, pay attention. There's something important happening right now. Yes, Lonnie?
Dogs are very good at hearing stuff because when there's an emergency or somebody's yelling for help or somebody's drowning
Yeah.
somebody's drowning for maybe
Right, so dogs have been trained to let us know when something important is going on. Yes, Gwen?
and then they yell for help.
Right, exactly.
And the dog can also listen for like big thunder or rain.
That's true. Dog could listen for a storm, though you will kind of see if a storm is coming because you're going to see that the sky gets really dark because the clouds get really thick. So you're going to see a storm when it's coming. But you might not see a tornado. You might only hear it. And if you're not hearing it, then there's a siren that's going on, like a fire siren that we hear, that's calling for the fire trucks. It sounds a lot like that, the siren that calls for the fire trucks. The dog will let the owner know, hey, there's something going on. Yes, Tim?
I was going to say, even though it's not important for a family, the dog, even though that it barks at a car, and that's not important, the family can still come out, but they wouldn't, say anything.
Well, but it might be important, like if it's somebody coming to their house, for the dog to let the family know that somebody's here, right? My dogs bark all the time when somebody comes to the house. My dogs bark when I come to the house. And they're looking at me out the window, and I'm saying, but it's me. Why are you barking at me?
Yeah, my dog does that too.
They bark at the cat when the cat comes to the house. They bark at the rabbits that go across the yard. They bark at the squirrels that are 5 houses down. They bark at everything because they're just dogs like that. But that's good because they let us know that something's going on, right? Except when it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and they're barking. That's not good. So anyways, okay. All right, before we go on to our multiple meaning words and our readers' sounds of C and kinds of sentences, I want to get up and wiggle a little bit. So you can close your books for right now.